Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class from Canto 2, which is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 7, which is entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. And this morning we're doing text 46. Without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhavam Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vadjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vadjana Ranjana Jamuna Thira Vanachari Jamuna Thira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Radhanaranjana Yashodanandana Radhanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Stotra Satsya Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shira Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhansa Parivajikacharya Stotra Satsya Maharaj Divine Grace Shira Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavind Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Charge Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय समवेत भक्त बिंद की जय Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Prabhupada Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Varaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Swami Vikinam. Namaste Krishna Varaya Prabhupada Sthapi Sri Gaura Karma Shakti Bhakti. All right. Excuse me. Just Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tujayam Gujirayat Nashtapraiswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamastuke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 46. And as usual, I read it 3 times, or chant it 3 times. Teva vidyantyati taranti jadeva mayam Shri Shudrahuna Shabara api papa jiva Yadyadbhuta krama parayana sila shikshas Tiryak jana apikin ushutataye Teve vidantya deva mayam Shri Shudrahuna Shabara api papa jiva Yadyadbhuta krama parayana sila shikshas Tiryak jana apikim ushutadharanaye Teve vidyantyati taranti chadeva mayam Shri Shudrahuna Shabara api papa jiva Yadyadbhuta krama parayana sila shikshas Tiryak jana apikim ushutadharanaye. Hare Krishna.
Te vai vidyanta titaranta jadeva mayam. Stri sudrahuna shabara api papa jiva. Yadya bhuta krama parayana shila shikshas. Tiryak jana api kim ushruta dharanaye. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna. Devai vidyanti ati tiranti chadeva mayam stri shudrahuna shabara api papa jivaha yadi adbhuta krama parayana shila shikshas tiryak jana api kim yu shruta dharanaye.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you bring it up little bit?
Okay.
No, up, yeah.
This way?
No,
Which
no.
way?
No, up like Sanskrit.
She reads the Sanskrit.
Oh, you
so
read
she
the
wants
Sanskrit. Okay,
Sanskrit.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Te vai taitantyar yati taranti cha deva mayam stri shudraho na shabara abhipapa jivaha यत्तद्भुतक्रमपरायणशीलशिक्षा स्थिर्यक्कजान अपि किमुषु श्रुतधारणा ये Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay.
Hare Krishna. I can read it. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Okay, now you want this one.
No, the Sanskrit one I want.
Okay, sure.
Deve vedanti yati taranti chadev mayam stri shudra hona shabara api papa jiva yadyad bhut krama parayana shil sikha स्थिर स्थिर्यजना अपि किमु श्रुतधारणाये. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right. Word for word. Te, such persons. They, undoubtedly. Vedanti, do know. Atitaranti, surpass. Cha, also. Devamayam, the covering energy of the Lord. Shri, such as women. Shudra, the laborer class of men. Una, the mountaineers. Shavara, the Siberians, or those lower than the Shudras. Api, although. Papajiva, sinful living beings. Yadi, provided. Adhuta Krama, one whose acts are so wonderful. Parayana, those who are devotees. Shila, behavior. Shiksha, trained by. Tiryagjana, even those who are not human beings. Api, also. Kim, what? U, to speak of. Shrutadharana, those who have taken to the idea of the Lord by hearing about him. Yea, those. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers, and the Siberians, or even the birds and beasts, can also know about the science of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes there are inquiries as to how one can surrender unto the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 66, the Lord asked Arjuna to surrender unto him. And therefore, persons unwilling to do so question where God is and to whom they should surrender. The answer to such questions or inquiries is given herein very properly. The personality of Godhead may not be present before one's eyes, but if one is sincere in wanting such guidance, the Lord will send a bona fide person who can guide one properly back home, back to Godhead. There is no need of material qualifications for making progress on the path of spiritual realization. In the material world, when one accepts some particular type of service, he is required to possess some particular type of qualification also. Without this, one is unfit for such service. But in the devotional service of the Lord, the only qualification required is surrender. Surrendering oneself is in one's own hand. If one likes, he can surrender immediately without delay, and that begins his spiritual life. The bona fide representative of God is as good as God himself. Or, in other words, the loving representative of the Lord is more kind and more easy to approach. A sinful soul cannot approach the Lord directly, but such a sinful man can very easily approach the pure devotee of the Lord. And if one agrees to put himself under the guidance of such a devotee of the Lord, he can also understand the science of God and can also become like the transcendental pure devotee of the Lord, and thus get his liberation back to Godhead, back home for eternal happiness. So realization of the science of Godhead and relief from the unnecessary, useless struggle for existence are not at all difficult for the willing candidate. But they are very difficult for persons who are not surrendered souls, but only simple, profitless speculators. Oma Gena Timidandasya Gyana Gena Shalakaya Chakshu Umbilitam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Prayam Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swaparatikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatayani Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Vachate Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Ram Ram Hari Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. English translation again. Surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers and the Siberians, or even the birds and the beasts, can also know about the science of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service. The whole text, Hare Krishna, is definitely advice about how one can become liberated from Maya. The word surrender is key here. The text before this talked about how the pure devotees, and he listed them by name, got to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and through that surrender, they very much connected with the Lord. They very much had a good understanding of the Lord. All of that, and the understanding of the Lord brings his own happiness. It is wonderful to be able to serve the Lord with a good understanding of who Krishna is. Krishna, true enough, is unlimited, but when we understand that he is superior to every living being, nobody comes close to him. That's enough of a definition that if we put our hearts into that statement and live accordingly, then we will in fact surrender. Because it will make sense to us to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It will just automatically make sense. So, in this text, surrendered souls, even from groups leading sinful lives. Now, that pretty much covers the entire, pretty much all of the people on the earth. In Kali Yuga, the overwhelming majority of people are leading sinful lives. Not only are they leading sinful lives, But the illusion is also there because they're considering that sinful life that they're leading as normal. And they actually claim that they are happy leading sinful lives. They are drinking, they are eating abominable things, making their bodies a graveyard. They are involving themselves in gambling. They involve themselves in sexual activity, not wanting any children, still involving like that, even though they know that that act usually leads to pregnancy. And that is what it's for. So there's so much ambiguity in life. People taking things that they shouldn't be doing, they want to do just because they want to satisfy their senses, and they don't know the real way to be happy in this earth. Or for that matter, anywhere in the material world. So those who get it, they are surrendered souls. And even if they started leading simple lives, because we didn't know any better, Lord Chaitanya is so merciful. Namo Mahabharata Nyaya Krishna Prema Padayati. So he is so merciful, munificent, that he's allowing even those who are leading this type of life, the sinful type, to still come to him and even eventually develop love of Godhead. The highest connection one can have with Krishna is to serve Krishna in love. This is a very, very, very lofty and extremely high position to put oneself in. And even though Lord Chaitanya has brought it down to the level that we, as fallen as we are, can connect to, sometimes our minds drift into wanting sense gratification because it's all around us. It's all around us. But that is our sabotage. Because if we go back to the spiritual world, we're going to wonder why we even involved ourselves in sense gratification here on the earth in the first place. Srila Prabhupada did not stress so much the enjoyment in the spiritual world. He just said with the body, the soul is Satchit Ananda. But that's saying a lot, because if the soul is Sat, if it's eternal, that strikes out death. Nobody likes death. Back in the spiritual world, nobody would die. And knowledge, there's full knowledge. You don't have to stress ourselves to get material knowledge, some of which is correct, some of which are wrong, and they are only for this temporary world. The knowledge is also full. And then bliss, Ananda, the highest happiness. So if you're going to go to a place, if you're told that you can go to a place where did you have the highest happiness you can ever have, that's saying a lot. So even without Srila Prabhupada describing in detail what the spiritual world is like, just the nature of a soul and what we're going to be like, the life that we're going to lead when we go back to the spiritual world, should motivate us to take it so seriously. We should feel ourselves extremely fortunate to come by this. On top of that is the fact that, yes, there are 4 sampradayas, 4 ways in which one can get to the spiritual world, 4 groups, if you will. But this particular one that we were in, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, is the one that when we are part of it, anyone that's a part of it, gets to associate with the Lord in that particular planet, Goloka Vrindavan. The other sampradayas don't take devotees who are involved in that to Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna Loka. The other sampradayas take you to, if you practice properly, to the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord is there as Lord Narayan and is worshipped in awe and reverence as a king, the king and the subjects. But at Krishna Loka, Krishna is the most lovable personality, and you can relate to him in all kinds of relationships. He doesn't come across as a king. He comes across as the one to love, and he loves you back. It's all exchange of love. There is love in the Vaikuntha planets, true enough, but there is also the understanding that Narayan is at the level that he's at, and everybody else is revering him and worshiping him. Krishna does not require worship in Krishna Loka. He's not set it up that way. He set it up so that his mother, Mother Yashoda, and Rohini, they all give such love to him as their son. That the young gopis give love to him as a lover, like a boyfriend, the way we talk about here in conjugal relationship. There are those who wish to serve him. There are those who want to relate to him as just cowherd boyfriends. Simple life there, but don't mistake it. It is quite lofty in terms of the things that are there in the spiritual world. The whole place is effulgent. It is beautiful. Every single living entity is as gorgeous as they come. But if we just take to this process of surrendering and serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees, we are given a chance to go. Just being a devotee, even if we're not able to succeed in all of the requirements, as few as they are, Srila Prabhupada says just because we're devotee this life, next life will be guaranteed a human body. So that is the mercy of Krishna. He never looks for us to go back down. If we ourselves don't take things seriously, and because of that, we don't show Krishna that we really want to, we're greedy to relate to him and go back home to do more of that, then we made that decision. But even with that, he gives his mercy by allowing the soul that didn't make it to take birth in a human body to continue. Everything that has been obtained in that life, say this present life, all of our activities in devotional service count as spiritual credits. We may, if we take it very seriously, very greedy to serve, then we may get a chance. Srila Prabhupada says Krishna allows, he's so merciful and very kind. So some of the things that we may have not done properly could be ignored if overwhelmingly our hearts are into serving. That is what surrender is. That the little things will be ignored and the person will be allowed back to the spiritual and Krishna Loka in particular. This Sampradaya, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, don't leave to go anywhere else. Srila Prabhupada was the soul that was appointed to come to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the whole world. One time, Srila Prabhupada's disciples asked him, Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was already spreading Krishna consciousness. He spread Krishna consciousness in India, but he is the Lord of everything that be, material and spiritual. Couldn't he have spread Krishna consciousness in the whole earth? This is a small planet. There's nothing for him to do. Why did he not spread Krishna consciousness in the whole world, but spread Krishna consciousness and the chanting of the holy name in India only? Sri Prabhupada said, in a very humble voice, as an answer, because the Lord left it for me to do. In the same way, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could have killed all 640 million soldiers in the Battle of Kurukshetra. He left it for Arjuna and the Pandavas to do that. Why? Well, that is the nature of Krishna. He likes to play up his devotee, to elevate his devotee. The devotee is humbly serving him, but he also is showing such love by giving opportunities for his devotee to be praised for wonderful work. The devotee wants to serve him. But Krishna also wants to elevate the devotee. So the one that's humble gets elevated by the Lord, and the one with the false ego gets brought down. So the choice is obvious. So surrendered soul, even from groups leading sinful lives, we can also know about the science of Godhead and therefore become liberated from the clutches of illusory energy. Once we get to know about who Krishna is, and Krishna is unlimited, but Srila Prabhupada says we should at least know Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. He is Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the supreme controller. There are other controllers, like the demigods, they control different things, some having more power than others. But the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, as Brahma says, no one comes to his level. He was not born by anyone. He's unborn, but through him, all beings come into existence. And the whole material world comes also into existence. Through the kala, the portion of a portion of a portion of a portion of a portion, Mahavishnu. The material world comes into existence, and time comes into existence. It is all through the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This first expansion, Balaram, is responsible for all of the spiritual world. So it's all ultimately from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we understand that. Then we are at the very beginning of the science of Godhead, because with that also, we begin to realize we're not these bodies. To even know that we're not these bodies, but we're souls in these bodies. If the whole world understood that, there would practically be no wars. Because wars and things of that nature, violence, they happen based on people thinking of themselves as the body. Yashatma Buddhi Kunapeti Dasuke. In Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 84, Text 13. People think that this body, Prabhupada calls it a bag of bones and blood and flesh and stool and urine and bile and all those things. Some people think that's the real person, not understanding that the real person is inside, that this is just a machine. And therefore, they extend that kind of reasoning to their family members also, and then to their country. So they think the country is worshipable, but in fact, it's the spiritual world that's worshipable. That's Krishna that's worshipable. His devotees are worshipable. But people in the country is worshipable. And then in Kali Yuga, we realize the country is going down. The whole world, all countries are going down. Struggling, but there's more sin because the legs of the personality of religion are broken. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy. People are not living like that. And then the last leg is truthfulness, and that's also being challenged. If the 4 defects in the person is, well, one of them is the tendency to cheat. Now, how can a cheating person be truthful? So that last leg of the personality of religion, dharma, is now weakened and getting more and more and more and more weakened. And that's the situation we're in. But devotees, once we come to Krishna consciousness, it can all be turned around. And the way to do it is to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Surrender means all the instructions that he gives, we do. We follow them. We follow them. So Krishna says, Tadvidi Pranipatena Paripashnena Sevaya, approach his spiritual master and inquire from him submissively and also render service to him. So we say, Krishna, I surrender to you, but he says, go approach his spiritual master, inquire submissively, and render service. You cannot say you will not do that if you say you surrender. Surrendering, the whole bhakti is an activity. It's activity. chanting is activity. So we surrender to the Lord by going by his program. That proves that we are surrendered. Otherwise, we're just surrendering by just talking about surrender, but not actually showing it. Hmm? He says the labor class, the women, the labor class, the mountaineers, and the Shabbatas, that covers everybody in the material world, practically. Then he says, even the birds and the beasts can also know the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can become liberated. Some people will say, birds and the beasts, but they don't chant the holy name of the Lord. So how do birds and beasts also become liberated? Two reasons. One, the bird and the beast, even in taking different bodies, lifetime after lifetime, will come to the level of a birth in a human being. It's a long process for them, but they eventually take a human body. If they come across the devotee that is kind enough to give them prasadam, and they eat the prasadam, that bird or that beast, that animal, will be taking birth as a human and will start their journey. Krishna consciousness, the royal path of devotion. Prasadam can do that. Now, there's actually instances in the Shastra, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita, that a dog was induced to chant the holy name of the Lord. This is a dog, a street dog, stray dog, that got the mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord, Shivananda Sena, which is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is when Lord Chaitanya was around. And the street dog was just following them as they were chanting. So Shivananda Sena decided to take care of the dog. So when the devotees were traveling, the dog also was there. And Shivananda Sena was giving instructions to other devotees, make sure the dog is fed and so on. One time in the morning, he himself was not there. He had instructed one of the devotees to feed the dog. The dog was not fed, and the dog took off. We assumed that, or apparently he was hungry and there was nothing to feed him, but Shivananda Sena himself was not there. So then he went. When Shivananda Sena returned, the dog could not be found anywhere. So he became very concerned. He even fasted. He put the fault on himself that he hadn't taken proper care of the dog. Although he gave instructions, but when the instructions are carried out, then the leader actually is the one who takes the blame. Yet, when they traveled at some point to go to where Lord Chaitanya was, they got there, and the next day, they found that the dog was there, this time with Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was feeding the dog prasadam and inducing the dog to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So as you know, and some that some dogs, they try to imitate a sound when there are only few words. They'll try to imitate the sound of what they're hearing. So the dog was eating prasadam and in his own way trying to chant Hare Krishna. Not long after that, the dog died. The Lord left the body. It wasn't a bad death at all. It wasn't a material type death for no use. He had chanted Hare Krishna. The Lord had purified that dog, that soul, and so the soul was taken back to the spiritual world. So some animals, fortunate ones, can go to the spiritual world first through us, giving prasadam to them. Even the water that we use to offer to the Lord when you offer bhoga to the Lord, that water, which is called maha water, if you put it on a plant, that plant is very fortunate in that the plant will also start their journey back to Godhead, taking a human birth and doing that. Back to yoga. it will be accelerated, which means ordinarily if the tree or that plant had to take other births in non-human bodies, subsequent births like that, because normally a tree or plant may take birth as other trees depending on what's the situation in that category. But when they leave that category to go higher, then they become either an insect or a reptile. And higher than that category would be bird body, bird. And then higher than that, the animal body, before they ever get a human body. And within those other categories, before they get to human body, it does not mean that you become an animal one lifetime and then the next lifetime you become a human. Not necessarily like that, depending on the things that that particular soul has to learn, the lessons they have to go through. They may stay in that particular class of bodies for a while before they go to the next higher one. But when a plant gets maha water, because we say maha water because that is their diet, their food is water. When they get maha water, they go straight from plant to human. Next life, the very next life. I checked it with a couple of sannyasi spiritual masters and they confirmed that statement. So there's so much that we can do. The more we help other devotees or other living entities, the more help we get. If we want to grow quickly, if we want to accelerate in Krishna consciousness, help others in devotional service. Connect others to Krishna consciousness, and you yourself will grow and get so much favor also from the Lord. So the importance of this, which is Sri Prabhupada is saying that a sinful soul cannot approach the Lord directly. But such a sinful person can easily approach the pure devotee of the Lord. So if one agrees to put himself under the guidance of this pure devotee of the Lord, then he's going to also understand the science of God and eventually become pure himself or herself. And thus get liberation to go back to Godhead, where there is eternal happiness. Eternal happiness. So if we go through the pure devotee of the Lord, we will get the opportunity to get the guidance that's necessary, the way Krishna wants us to live our lives, and then understanding the science of God and spreading it too. We should share it. We will become transcendental ourselves. In time, as the anatas are shed, the unwanted desires are shed, we get an opportunity to get the mercy of the Lord to go back to Godhead. So here's the importance of the spiritual master. That's why Krishna specifically in Bhagavad Gita said, approach the spiritual master. Get the guidance by inquiring. You can ask questions. You also should serve him because he represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, when we're serving Guru, it's practice towards serving Krishna back home in Krishna Loka. It is our practice. To be good at anything, you have to practice. Therefore, there has to be the means to put that practice into effect. And the means is the personality, the spiritual master. He's representing Krishna. And he's telling you what to do and what not to do. He's giving mercy. Sometimes he chastises. It means that the things you have to take seriously. Spiritual master plays the role of like a coach, and we are members of a team. And the coach is sometimes a little bit more aggressive in pushing us to win. Winning means being qualified to go back to Godhead. The coach, when he's a little serious, it's not because he doesn't like us. On the contrary, the guru loves us very much and is playing a parental role, a role like a coach wants us to succeed. And so sometimes he tells us what to do, and sometimes he pushes us in what to do. Sometimes he lovingly encourages us, and when we slack, sometimes he will just turn up the heat a little bit, but that's for our own good. Nobody should be offended when the Guru is a little strict with him or her. No one should be offended. It's for our own good. Hmm? The spiritual master helps us, as His Holiness Bhagavan Maharaj explained. The nature of a spiritual master is like a coconut. Coconut is hard on the outside, but it's soft in the inside. Sometimes when we meet the spiritual master that really wants to give us a mercy, you see the outside part, the hard part. Mm? But his nature is inside. He's very caring and he's very loving. But he wants us to succeed in going back to Godhead. That's why he's a little bit tough with us. Mm? Sometimes his words are a little stronger than usual, but it's just to get us, just like a coach, to take this process seriously so we can go. Mm? So, surrendered souls, what do? According to the text we're reading now, we get off the clutches of material energy, the illusory energy, by surrendering to pure devotees and following their footsteps in devotion service. It's also literally rubber stamp, for lack of a better way to put it, in Nectar of Instruction. The third text, Utsahan Nishtaya Dairat Tat Tat Karma Pravatanat. Tat Tat Karma Pravatanat. Sato Tyag, sorry, Sangha Tyaga Sato Vite Sadvibhakti Prashiditi. 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. Our enthusiasm level should be high. If it's low, start hanging out with a person that's more enthusiastic than you and copy them, and you'll pick up your enthusiasm yourself. Endeavor, when you do service, endeavor, but be confident too, because it's not actually we try and serve ourselves. No, we're serving the Lord. And if we do based on the instructions that's given, we should be confident that the service would be taken, accepted by the Lord. So we serve with confidence. Time is based on what Krishna wants. Therefore, we have to be patient. Things will reveal themselves by the Lord being the cause of it. We begin to have better realizations, but it takes time. Yes, we should concentrate more on getting rid of our anathas, the sinful activities, sinful desires, that should go. And we're saying this for our own purification, not just to you only, to me also. We are all in the same boat. Then act according to regulated principles. You hear, chant, remember the Lord, serve His lotus feet, pray. The 9 processes, as is described by Prahlad Maharaj in Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 23 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we follow the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These, associating with devotees and following the footsteps. The acharyas are those who tell us what to do, but then they live by it too. So you watch what they do and you hear what they, and then you just imitate, and then you're on the right track. Like that. So these 6 principles will assure complete success of pure devotional service. So that's what we should be about. Pure devotional service is also defined in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 167. It's very popular. Anya vilasita sunyam dhyana karma dhyanavitam anukulena shiranam anukulena krishnanu shiranam bhakti uttama. Bhakti uttama, first class service. So, when first class devotional service develops, here's a condition. One must be devoid of all material desires. If we have material desires, it should be a source of concern for us. If there's some things that's a material desire that's literally become like an addiction, then we take it one day at a time. Today, by the Lord's mercy, I'm going to try my very best to stay away from the sinful activity that is following me everywhere I go. We pray for help to stay away from it. Please, Lord, do whatever it takes and sabotage whatever it needs to be sabotaged in order for me to stay away from this sinful activity for today. The next day, similar prayer. So, first class devotional service, then material desires comes, it's devoid of material desires. We don't go there. And knowledge on the monist philosophy, it's not the best thing. I mean, I could talk about it, but the things are from the same source. Darwin's theory is practically monist type of theory because we don't deal with Darwin's theory. Fruitive action. We should be, all of those should be gone. Fruitive activities. Everything that we do, we shouldn't do just for ourselves. We should always be thinking and praying for ideas to connect even our material activities to Krishna. Then it doesn't become just fruitive. And speaking about that, people who work, we earn, everybody has wings. We know that this place, we have to pay to live, so we depend on money coming in. But then money should also, see, this is all about serving Krishna. So then money should also be directed for service to Krishna. Like the Rath Yatra, we want to give so much service, so much opportunity, not service, opportunity to people who don't know Krishna to see Lord Jagannath. Jagannath gives mercy even if people see him and they don't know who he is, don't quite understand him. He's still merciful. And so, of course, that's why so much money is spent by devotees once a year in one particular temple to bring the Lord out. So much effort goes and so much money is spent, which means so much contribution of money is needed also, and contribution of services. Both should happen. We are about 2 weeks away, a little over 2 weeks away, actually 2 weeks and 1 day away from ourselves for Harrisburg to have Rath Yatra. So we're saying that to say, give of your hearts. If you've given a certain quantity, some help, give more. The more you give, the extent to which we surrender the word to Lord, he rewards accordingly. Never misses anything. So the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. And the desires are listed by him as spiritual master in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Arjuna wanted him to be spiritual master to him, Arjuna. Therefore, Krishna plays the role of Shiksha Guru, teaching what should be done and what should not be done. At the same time, he also explains his position as a Supreme Personality, all wrapped up in one book, Bhagavad Gita, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, as it is, explained as it is. And not other Bhagavad Gitas where people cut corners based on what they want to derive from it. So, Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does it involve? Rendering devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. How is it favorable? It should be free from any extraneous motive. Material motive that we say we want, especially for those who have been around a little longer than the new people who come to go devotional service. One of the things that Maya tries to get you is, see, I'm senior to these other people. I should show that I'm senior. Immediately, we fall into the trap of wanting distinction and adoration. And Krishna has already talked about it in Bhagavad Gita. Stay away from distinction and adoration. A humble person would never think of receiving distinction and adoration. And even if people adore them or people they say all kinds of wonderful things about them, they get a little antsy and worried. They don't really want to hear so much about them. And a great example is Lord Chaitanya himself. True enough, he was the Supreme Personality of God. He was God. But when people describe him that way, he would immediately cover his ears and say, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. He wanted everybody to see him as a fully surrendered devotee of the Lord. That's what he came to do, to teach us how to be proper devotees and excited devotees, enthusiastic devotees of the Lord, chanting the holy name, to open our hearts to finally expose the love that's always been there, Krishna Prema. So bhakti is a sort of cultivation. Cultivation means we have to do some activity. So we don't sit idly and just like, yogis, Sudha yogis, they try to teach, they just tell you, you sit and then you meditate for a long period of time. Not in ISKCON. You have to go around. Our sannyasis are called Parivrajakachaja. Parivrajakachaja sannyasi travels and preaches, and you see that happening here. They won't sit at one place. No. So the conclusion is, pray to the Lord to teach. We all should pray to the Lord to teach us more and more ways to surrender. Next, we should follow the teachings of our acharyas, spiritual masters, who teach and live by the teachings too. We should follow the teachings of our spiritual masters who are present now and those who've already come and left the body. Next, we should serve devotees with all our hearts, just like we would serve the spiritual master. This is the secret to advancing in Krishna consciousness. Never put the level of service to devotees lower than the level of service to the spiritual master. Many people are caught in that. Oh, he's my guru. Then they go out of their way to do everything, which is nice to serve the guru. And when it comes to devotees, we know them. And immediately, yep. Yes, Maya says, you're familiar. Yes, we know each other. I can do this thing in maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month from now. Where the same thing would have been done the very next day if Guru asked us. This is why we don't advance. If you serve, Papa says, call each other Prabhu. Well, now Prabhu is a master. Why would you postpone things that you have to do for the master? So this is all, Papa has told us the right thing to do. We just have it firmly understood in our minds and in our hearts so that Maya can't shake us. Ramanujacharya also said that to his disciples when he was leaving his body. He was in his deathbed. They were all crying. Guru Maharaj is leaving. That's understandable, of course. They felt morose. But then Ramanujacharya told them, first, I want to thank you for all the services that you've done for me. Second, serve each other with the same desire and intensity that you used to serve me. Same thing we're talking about. You have to have the same intensity of service to the devotees as you would have to serve the spiritual master. Then you will grow. Otherwise, you remain Kanishta a long time. Anyone who does like that. When the devotee needs something, it should be a huge chance. Look at it that way. Huge opportunity for me to serve this devotee in order to get the favor of Krishna. That's the first thing. You get the favor of Krishna. And then secondly, your relationship with that devotee improves wonderfully because you've done something nice for them. That's just human nature. Why wouldn't they be nice to you? They'll be good friends with you. And in fact, they'll look forward to getting an opportunity to serve you back. And that's in the next law of instruction, exchanges of love. Final point, let's all be grateful to Srila Prabhupada. We should have the attitude of gratitude, as my spiritual master put it, for founding or putting together this organization, ISKCON, which is a great lifesaver and a way to leave this difficult and troublesome material world. It's all part of ISKCON's aims. By following ISKCON's teachings, which is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, they will get an opportunity to leave this troublesome, temporary material world and make our lives successful. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you very much for coming on to listen. This is the time to unmute yourself, and if you have questions, or you want to ask or takeaways that you want to share, that would be wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance as always a
Yep,
proud.
mine, boy. Sure, Papa.
Very key points for one for devotee spiritual life. Very, very key points. Actually, one point that I really liked you mentioning was Maha water,
Mm,
giving it to the plants, and the next life, next life,
become human.
they get a human. And I was happy to hear that. Was not that I doubted it, but it was just appreciation and happiness is because every time the Maha water jug gets full in the pujari room in our temple, the first thing I do is I go out and I pour it out of the grass. Every
Yeah.
time it gets full, I go out and I pour it on the left side or the right side. And the most and what is so nice is that the Maha water from the deities that's in the jug also has tulsi leaves in it.
Too much
Dry
blessing.
tulsi leaves. So they are not only getting Maha water from Nitai Gaura Chandra, which is mercy, but they're also getting the tulsi leaf from the Maha water of the deities. So it's like,
Mhm.
wow. So I was just really, really, really happy to hear that, every time I go and throw the water out to the grass and the trees and leaves, they'll come
And the
back next
plants,
life
yeah.
as human. That
Yeah.
is so happy. Like I'm
There
so
are no
happy.
accidents. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. I was like, whoa, they're getting, oh, this is like, and plus, to have a tree and a grass, a yard at the temple and you're getting maha, it's like they must have done something in their last life to be,
As I
to be
said,
planted,
there are no accidents. They're where they
right?
are for a
To
reason.
be to be planted before the temple, and we get to pour
Hmm.
maha water on them.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it since 2023, since the deities came. So I'm like so happy to hear that. Really, really happy. Another
Yeah.
point that you're speaking about enthusiasm. It's so important that if that on a daily basis, devotees, practicing devotees who are taking the process should always gauge their enthusiasm. Because I was reading, because I mean, that is the first of the six favorable principles in
Yeah.
Nectar of Instructions, Utsaha,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know. And I was reading a nice lecture transcription by His Holiness Giriraj Swami.
Mm.
And Giriraj Swami says that enthusiasm is the foundational principle to progress in spiritual life. I mean, he actually used the phrase foundational principle because he said
Mm.
without enthusiasm we cannot grow and we cannot advance, and it's very difficult to progress in spiritual life. That is very, very much needed, is what Maharaj said. So I was really
Yeah.
appreciating the point that as devotees, practicing devotees, every day we should take time and evaluate and assess our enthusiasm, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is it? And why is it
Mm.
low? And when it's low, that means we're in wrong association. When it's low, that means we are not hearing, we're not reading, we're not chanting, we are not associating, with the right devotees, and we're not hearing Prabhupada's, reading Prabhupada's books or, anything. So when it's low, that means we're in wrong association. That's what Girat Swami said. So I wanted to
Mm.
share that he used the word foundational principle of one's spiritual life. Very important point he said.
Yeah.
Hare
Thank you very
Krishna.
much. Yeah. So we know you can't if you not enthusiastic, you're gonna be feeling it'll be dull. And as soon as you get dull, your chanting quality goes down. And the quality of chanting goes down, then the bells should go in our head, danger, danger, danger. Because Krishna consciousness, you can't stay at one level. You are either going up or going down. So we should always be living our lives such that Krishna consciousness is actually increasing. Adjust your day to serve the Lord better. Mm? We all have an opportunity to enjoy wonderfully in the spiritual world. in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Don't think that we're going to go work hard like it is here in the material world. So Papa says we work very hard like donkeys. Spiritual world, the service is all fun. The cowherd boys serve Krishna. What do? They go with Krishna to tend to the cows. How much real attending to the cows do they do? They go to a place where the pastures are, and then they just stay at one place. Now, as they go in, they're blowing their horns and other kinds of flutes and stuff and singing. And then they get to the place where the cows can, feed, graze on the grass. And what do? Play around. That's service. How much work is that? Just think about it. So it's all fun. Service in the spiritual world is fun. Here, we serve to practice how to get our minds and our hearts purified. And so sometimes there are difficulties in there. And difficulties come also in order to help us to see how much we want to do the service. That's also an indication of how much we want to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you love someone and you have to do something for them, and you love them intensely, no matter what difficulty comes, you try to get around it or go over it or solve it in order to get that job that what you want to do for the person you love done. So it's a test here. But in the spiritual world, everything flows so smoothly. And that's where we're looking to go. So we should thank Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Any other comments? If not, then I would like to thank all of you for coming on. I know today is a holiday, 4th of July. Many of you have traveled, many devotees have traveled, so only a few came on. But still, when even 2 people are on there, the Lord still appreciates all that happens. Besides, it's being recorded, so people can listen to it later. Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhve eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.